When I started with Water RA, David Halliwell and Sean Cox and the board had just put together a new strategy which involved a new business model, which was going to transition from funding projects out of members' contributions to a model where funding for projects came out of interest in the projects themselves, and members or non-member organisations actually putting funding in to get particular projects up and running. So it was a big change for the organisation. And for me, coming in as the new CEO, I have a very strong industry background, some research background in my earlier career, but very much a 20-year or so background in water industry. So my vision was really about making sure that the work that Water RA did was very focused on what the needs of industry was. And so that was very important to me. And the way that we then implemented the strategy really reflected that focus that I had. So it was working very closely with all of the member organisations, but particularly with industry members, and getting the staff of the organisation to work very closely with industry members to really identify what the needs were from an industry perspective, and then try and match that up with what was happening in the research field as well. My memories of it right from the beginning were the very, very high quality of work that was done, very high calibre work, but it was very focused on water quality, drinking water quality in particular. When I became CEO with the new strategy that Sean and David and the organisation was implementing, involved an extension of that focus on drinking water quality to broader aspects of water management. So in the year or so that I was CEO, there was a focus on expanding the extent of the research done beyond just the drinking water quality. Drinking water quality always being a very, very important part of what the organisation was involved in, but expanding the focus of the different topics that were being researched. So that's something I think that certainly happened, but always maintaining the high standards of research that the CRC had always had. So I think that as an organisation today, it has a greater breadth in terms of the scope of research that's being done, but also maintaining that very, very high quality focus on good quality research. A big challenge during my time at Water RA was the transition to the new business model. And it was a challenge from a number of perspectives. One, the organisation had taken a great risk in terms of reducing membership fees in the expectation that it would be able to raise funds to carry out new projects through actually raising funds directly for projects. So that was a risk. It was challenging for the member organisations, the industry members as well as the research members. For the industry members, because they sort of weren't quite sure what they were going to get out of this. Was it going to work? Was it going to give them research outcomes that were useful to them? And for the research members, it was quite challenging too, because it potentially meant that if industry interests moved away from their area of research interest, there might not be ongoing involvement for them in an active sense within the organisation. So that was quite challenging. So for me, with our focus, the focus of all the staff that year on trying to initiate new projects that had interest for industry members and that industry members would fund. At the same time, we were trying to make sure that those interests and those projects lined up with what the research members could deliver. So I can remember it was probably about 6 months into that first year that we were implementing the new business model that we actually managed to initiate the first project under the new model. So that was a great milestone and a great relief, because there was a concern that, well, what if we can't get a new project up and running with this new model? So that was one important milestone. And the other one was at the end of the first year, I think we had a target of getting 4 new projects initiated using the new model. And from memory, I think we got about 6. And we had a target of the total funding that we would get, which we also exceeded in that first year. So that was great. That was really an important thing for the organisation, but also important for the staff for me and the staff and the board, because it was a reflection of the hard work that we did in implementing the new model. It also gave a message to members that the new model could work, and to research organisations that that the new model could actually produce really interesting research projects that were challenging for them. So that was a great success. But then, when you achieve that in your first year, it then opens up your eyes to a lot of lessons that you learn, and things that you could do better or improve, because it's always difficult to keep that success going. I think an organisation like Water RA is very, very important for the water industry into the future. There's often there can be a tendency, particularly in times where there's pressure on budgets, to reduce expenditure on research, and I think that's quite short-sighted in many instances, because it's sort of easy to cut costs in the short term and forego benefits in the long term that you will get from research. So I think an organisation like Water Research Australia is important, because it provides a mechanism by which many organisations can contribute to one organisation that can carry on really strong, really good quality research. And I think the important thing in the future will be getting the balance right between being able to identify joint projects that are of value to industry, but that also provide value to the research members. So I think that the future is, Water RA is very important in the future in terms of producing good quality research to underpin new learnings for the water industry, but also to continue the excellence in research at the research organisations that are involved in the organisation. I always got so much out of interacting with the member organisations. Always loved the industry members. I love water businesses, and it was fascinating for me to see what the issues were in the different water businesses across the country, and to actually identify what the similarities were and bring people together to share and to learn and to sort of share the challenge of finding solutions. But the thing that Water RA gave me is more of a connection into the research organisations as well, and to sort of be able to bring the industry perspective on what issues were into the research organisations. And so I think that that's the thing that I remember fondly, it's all of those interactions, and it was wonderful to get that opportunity to work with that community.